I'm
Yep.
looking at the website, they say, well,
Yep.
that's the only information I have.
Well, and that's part of our challenge, right? And part of what I'll say my team's opportunity is you have stations people you might be talking to. Stations people can't see what's in the elevator system. You have elevator people who could, but the elevator people aren't stationed on the platform, right? That's why we want to get towards this single platform where a stations person can see what's going on with the elevator and see that status.
But
Then the
in
stations,
interim,
sir, excuse me.
If indeed it does send electronic signal to somebody that it's not working,
Yes.
whoever that person or that department is should be calling the station to let someone in the station know the status, right?
But take that one step further, that's what I was talking about. You can have all of your internal communications wonderful, and you have one platform, and everybody internally. Unless they let the riding public, the person who wants to
I
use
agree.
that elevator and is standing there, or in the city, that it doesn't do any good.
But Judy,
And
it
you
also
say
sounds as though the internal
Lisa.
people aren't speaking, don't have the same information as each
Lisa,
other.
can I finish, please? What I am saying is all of your wonderful things that you are doing internally, if the riding public, if it doesn't end up with the riding public, it's really not doing any good. And I know that's not your particular job, but at the same time, I think I would ask you to communicate this
Sure.
internally to the people who can then communicate externally, because unless you do that, all of your hard work is not doing any good to
No, I agree.
someone like Edith.
I agree.
And it
Also,
sounds as
it's
though
why
the
people
internal
continue to
communication is
use.
the first step.
Yes, that was going to be my point. Is
Right.
we have to get our story straight before we can better communicate.
And when
If
will
we
that,
spend all our time in communication but we don't have our story straight, it's going to make it worse,
Okay,
not better.
good, but
what's
in the
the
meantime,
timing on
when you do
Which part of
that,
it?
the timing on getting everybody internally to have all the same information so that it can be shared with riders as
So-
in real time?
I think with elevators and escalators, I think later this year, we're gonna have some big milestones where the station people and the elevator and escalator people are gonna be in the same system for the first time in history.
Is there an interim step that can be developed?
I think the
Now?
interim step is we just need more communication.
Yeah.
People need to pick up the phone, people need to call, people need to communicate and.
Can you stick that in the checklist?
Whatever
I will
department
Yeah,
of the
well,
electronic
that's-
signal is going to need to step up.
I think also it needs to address the fact that we do not seem to be keeping pace with putting up those black signage that tell you how to work around this elevator that's now
yeah,
out.
Right.
that's what.
I mean, that's the problem. I mean, I was
Your
down.
alternatives, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's down there. There was an MTA guy working with, I think they were putting in the sensors for the new system. And I'm saying to him, can you let me back in? And he's going, and one of the workmen's like, put a letter in. I can't go anywhere for God's sake. Obviously, I came out.
Right.
But the problem is that we're there, and there is no way of communicating
Yes.
if they don't answer the intercom,
So
and you're just sitting there.
I just have a question about what kind of information do you get about you get a signal that the elevator is out. Does it tell you what's wrong?
So there's hundreds of different types of signals that the elevators get. It's not just a I'm working or not. There's a bunch of different sensors and a bunch of different things. The challenge is interpreting what those mean. Some of them we're very good at. Some of them, as we get new elevators, new elevator type, have to be sort of be translated into things that people can understand. It would be great if it was as simple as I'm working and I'm not. And some of them are more obvious, but there's continually work being done to sort of improve how do we
does
read
it tell you if it's stuck between the mezzanine and the platform level?
Some stuff, yeah. Sometimes it's not operating, and I think what a lot of what's going on is trying to even go one step further, not just know when is it out, but start doing some of the more predictive stuff. We're seeing this error over and over. Generally, once this error happens, then we know in short order it's going to be out of service.
Yeah.
And so
Like
how do we get
example,
there?
I'm on the,
Chris,
We have,
hold
Yeah.
on, we've got a person whose hand has been up.
Yeah.
okay, there were times I was outside inside stations, I was inactive, I saw no posted signs. I see a poster saying to be inactive for several hours. I press a button, it's not moving. nobody tells me anything. I watch the MTA employees, we take a Doug assessment about that, because it's very annoying. I can take my time, walk up the stairs, due to my condition, that's another story. You try to tell it, and also, it'd be nice if these certain individuals would fold the doors before they board the buses, elevators, escalators, and trains. Okay, they just hit me with the straw, they bulldoze me, and then when I fight back, then when I throw a fit. You want to throw a fit? I'll throw a fit too. And you already seen me, well no, he's already seen me throw a fit, that's another story. I don't play that. Okay, also bicycles. Either ride the bicycles or leave them home at all times. Skateboards, rollerblades, I don't have time for this. Scooters, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I saw a scooter on a platform the other day.
Ride the
e-bikes.
scooters,
Oh, this was a
rollerblades and skateboards, or leave them home. As far as
Electric
strollers
scooter.
goes, fold them,
He gets
just
out at
one can board them.
One,
And I so appreciate these finance don't approach me and say, well, can you move over? When you're in there, they know damn well I'm in a corner, and there's no place for me to go.
No, you're
But
absolutely right.
speaking of this elevator problem, you, of course, know, as we have witnessed, that certain workmen and/or delivery folks have some fairly heavy loads that I've seen with either a hand truck or a little dolly or something loading onto an elevator. Is there anything in the elevator that would immediately make a sound or an alarm if it was too heavy a load that for the accommodation of that
Or
load?
the doors
I'll
open.
freely admit I am not enough of an elevator expert to answer that, but I can certainly find out and get it back. And I know we have different types of elevators, and so they may not all be consistent.
All right, we should probably move along. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple highlights there. You know, I put this in, and I put in quotes some of our 2019 goals. One of our again opportunities is there are things we set out to do. One of the big things we're starting to tackle is to dive into the car equipment world. They have a legacy system called Christmas. Our ultimate end goal is to get them out of that into the subway ZM system and give them some enhancements and things.
What's
We're
the
just
legacy
excited.
program called?
It's called RISMAS. It stands for Rolling Stock Management Information System.
Oh, almost sounded like a season.
Almost
Yes.
sounds like,
Yes,
Right.
bless you. So we have some things going on there. The reason I put some in quotes is sort of, you know, as executive priorities change, you know, we try to be agile and to jump into things. You know, certainly everybody is aware of some of the issues we've had with things falling from elevated structures recently. So one of the things that my team got tasked with, you know, in short order was we need to get a better inspection program in place. And so, you know, that wasn't really on our 2019 roadmap, but we're here to help. And so we, in a couple weeks, are going to have a mobile inspection all baked up and done so that the track inspectors who are doing this inspection, finding hanging baskets or things, you know, that we have better records around that so that we don't have these conditions, you know, and forgive the pun, but fall through the cracks, you know, that something happens, we know about it, but it's not documented in a good way that we follow up on it, so.
So is the first bullet go back to the internal communication that's gonna get everybody on the same wavelength? To know about things like the elevators and the escalators?
Yeah, so
So
the
that's number
first bullet
one.
is we've got all stations in the same place. Now we need to get elevators and escalators. Yes, they're all subways, but they're entirely different division than stations management. I know the stuff is co-located, but organizationally they're separated. And so one of the things that's not on here is getting those elevator and escalator folks into the same thing.
What is shift?
wait,
What is
excuse me,
shift?
Carol,
Yeah.
had
Sorry.
been sitting here.
Yes.
With all this stuff, I mean, it's fabulous that this is happening. What happens when the system goes down? What's the backup?
So
plan and-
we have multiple redundancy things in place. We have multiple data centers, Jamaica, Hillside, and also at 2 Broadway where this is hosted. So our intent is to not go down. That if it does go down, it just fails over. It fails over to the other
I mean, look at the
system.
New York City, whatever system that's been down for whatever.
For sure. There are things
happens.
that we can't. Our fallback is always to go back to paper temporarily, and then when we get things back up in place, we
So
would
you have
go.
those carbon copies ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever fully get rid of them, but yes, we want to minimize them, yes.
What does
Yeah.
SHIP stand, in the first bullet, what does SHIP?
SHIP stands for Station Handheld Inspection Program. The
Basically,
funding
it's
by
a clipboard. right?
Yeah, it was the previous system. The downside is, although it was intended to be a handheld inspection program, they never got to the handheld part of it. It was just a IT resourcing challenge that they developed the inspection part of it, but they never got the handheld.
So what did they didn't use the carbon paper even then?
Well, no,
They
that's
just
what
talk to each other, or do they?
they do paper records and then they come back and type it into the computer.
So this is, what do you think that, is this throughout the year, is this rolling improvements, is it?
So these are all things in 2019 we're hoping to do. We have other things planned for 2020, 2021. Our goal is over the next, I'll say 3 years. My team will not like that. They'll want to say 5 years, but we're pushing things because we know this is desperately needed to get better information to the right people to make decisions. So we'll see big improvements. We have continual improvements. I would say once every 3 months we're rolling something new somewhere in some ways. I think major things are happening every year though, for sure.
So, the inspections that are being done and that are being communicated, this is not a trick question.
Yeah.
Were you involved, your team, in the initial inspections of the L train tunnel for the work that needed to be done? And have you then been brought out to see what the new proposal is going to do in terms of being able to compare those and look at the information based on those inspections?
Yeah, we were not part of it. We've not dipped into it. The majority of the stuff we've done to date is really focused on the maintenance and operations side, not on the capital project side. Part of the reason we say 3 to 5 years is in the next couple of years, that's where we hope to get more tie-in. So that right now, many things, you have a capital project, it gets done. The link between the capital and the operating side is definitely an opportunity we have to improve that, getting the right information over and also getting it back, getting the feedback back from the maintenance and operation. One of the stories that it's not so flattering of us, and I'll get to in a second, is that Second Avenue Subway, when they put in the lights there, every other station in our network, the lights are right above the platform, they're right there. It takes 2 guys on a ladder to wash and relamp the lighting on a regular basis. At Second Avenue Subway, somebody in the design team said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we put them up a little bit higher? They would cover a broader area, it would look much nicer, seemed all great. Then all of a sudden they said, Subways, can you come inspect this and make sure it's all good? And we said, how are we supposed to wash and relamp the lighting that's now feet up in the air? And they said, well, just get a lift or something. And I said, well, wait, so for 469 of our stations, 2 guys on the ladder is sufficient, but for these 3, we need a lift and we need 8 people to get the job done. That's where getting that feedback from the maintenance and operation back to the capital side. They do look nice, great. It's one of those things that, for us, asset management is about how do we tie that loop back. It's not a one-way street. It's got to be a dialogue between both sides to really do well. Yes, sir.
Okay, Jack Cassie, about Shirley Jones, that's what you look like. What I said earlier today also applies to escalators. When they're out, post signs stating what's happening, and they need to fold the strollers before they board them, because they get caught, someone can get herself hurt or killed.
Very much.
Also, people like to run down the stairs and bulldoze people like me, and they've done it to me in the past. I go, are you serious? You want to play football? Play football too. I'll give you something to tell. You'll never forget. It's like Roman Reigns. That's another story. Also, when there's no service, you need to give us block tickets immediately. Not whatever the hell you get around to it. Because I've seen that too many times. Also, when there's no service on a certain line, you need to give us those paper transfers. Years ago, I asked 2 employees, one male, one female, to give me a paper transfer and ask me where you're going. You don't have to know. You don't have to know where I'm going. Just give it the damn transfer and call it a day. Don't question my integrity. If they're available, then you need to give them to the riders, and they weren't always available during each general order. You can't have it both ways. This isn't turn and beat around. Okay. Whenever you have no service, you need to issue those paper transfers at all times. Okay, you can't have something like Big Daddy Kane.
So
You can't do it
that's not-
halfway.
So that's not him, but we will put that down,
Well, but
take
you
that back.
can still
Yeah, absolutely.
pass along to his teammates, his comrades.
Excuse me, Lisa, maybe we'd be best, we should move on to the next part, because
Well, I was
Yeah.
just say that we do have some timing constraints, so
Yeah.
we want you to, but we do want you to.
I will
finish what you-
just jump ahead and show you guys a couple things real quick, if that's all right.
It's fine.
Everybody likes visuals, right? Okay. I'll try and make it Okay. This is just a snapshot of what we call a start center of the N40AM system.
What's in there?
What?
A start center. So when our employees log in, they get a view that's like this. The things down the left side are what we call inboxes. They're predefined queries for things that they should go look at. You know, it's information at their fingertips rather than them having to go run reports and do other things. This is they can go click on something, double click, and get right where they need to very quickly. On the right side of the top, there's a chart, and it's showing work order cost by work order type. And so I put this up because ultimately at the bottom line for asset management, our job is how do we better capture what we're doing so that we can make the right investments. When we have these valuable capital dollars, we're trying to figure out how do we make the right investments for accessibility and other things. How do we put them in the places we need? We have to capture that information at that cost. So that's just a visual, and that's a dynamic thing that updates. At the bottom are what we call KPIs. These are, again, dynamic things that update so that they let that station, supervisor in the field know, I currently have 353, open defects in this zone, that I can drill right down to them. Some of the other ones are, counters. I had 10 records that got updated last night so that I can quickly get information to make better decisions. I don't have to call 7 people to figure out what's going on. I don't have to read 12 reports. How do we get dynamic information at people's fingertips?
Does everyone see this when they log in?
So everyone would see a different view. This is a customizable to a person's role in the organization. So supervisors will see one thing, maintainers would see a different thing.
Okay.
A chief who log in would see entirely different, kind of thing. But
So it's categorical?
yes, based on your role in the organization is how it gets determined what you see here.
And what are the two circles, what's the coding, the color coding?
Yeah, so this is, as we're in a phased rollout, we don't have everything in Subways in, but our corrective maintenance, I know it's really hard to see, I apologize, but the dark color is the amount of labor we have that is corrective maintenance work orders. What's in yellow is our scheduled inspections and tests. So this is not a function to say we do more corrective maintenance than inspections, but just that's what we had in the system at the time, and that we can drill down to see that. So
We want to see the colors completely switch, right?
yes, at some point we want to move towards we're more proactive and preventive than reactionary, 100%. And that's exactly what the visual could show you.
What's the red?
The red up there is preventive maintenance. So that's where you see in 2019 we start capturing more preventive maintenance stuff in the system, and hopefully in time that red bar goes really big and the gray one gets a little bit smaller.
And this appears to everybody or just the people who are involved with the circles, the color coding?
So we believe very big in data transparency across subways. That's how we get to this better information for stations, people to know what's going on in E&E. So we're trying to break down silos. It's not you go here and you only see your stuff. You can filter for only your stuff, but we don't want it to be you only see what you're in and you have no idea what's going on elsewhere. So you have both capabilities. So anybody could see this if they wanted to. That's a big thing for us.
So this is the big picture?
This is the big picture, yes. So for the sake of time, there's a couple things. Historically, you could go in, you could run different queries and see tabular information, but one of the things I want to show you guys is let's not look at a list of defects, let's look at a picture of defects. So I will reload this and give you something. This is a view into our GIS system, and what it's going to do is it's going to load up, it's going to tie into the EAM system, and just say, for an example, show me defects that were created on our structures in the last 10 days. It will run, there's a little circle that's spinning over here as it's powering through that information. In a few seconds, some dots will start popping up that we can zoom in on. One of the things that I like to show folks is everybody's familiar with this view of the world, right? We all know the subway map. Everybody, is this to scale or is this not to scale?
Oh, it's definitely not to
It's
scale.
definitely not to scale, but
yeah.
there are many people who don't know that. There are many people who think that Central Park is 2/3 of Manhattan without realizing that it's not. There are many people who think that Staten Island is this tiny little island.
Have, Marble Hill on it.
Yeah.
So many maps ended 114th Street.
Yes. Oh yeah. But what I want to show you
In
is
Canada.
here. This is to scale.
Upstate, you did.
This is to scale. This looks different, but what you realize is Staten Island is huge.
Yeah.
And
Lot of wasted space.
there's some people that
Are you gonna take that sitting
that was
down?
him. Yeah.
I'm too tired to get up.
But, so what
lots
we're
of
doing is trying to give people this
What?
spatially accurate
Lots of
view, and so
cemeteries.
I'm gonna zoom in here, just to get down to some of this
I
level of
think it's sort of
detail,
like-
because this is interactive, this is dynamic, this isn't the static map. When we started out, people said, well, just put defects on the subway map. Well, I don't wanna put them on the subway map. I wanna get down in, and this will load up, and it will become more clear, but I wanna know the exact track that it's on. I wanna see the level of detail of what I can get to, and know that, okay, this is, you know, a broken point here, you know, kind of thing. And see that this is on this track and versus that track kind of thing. So this is really powerful for our employees to know, hey, I can see where there's a cluster of things happening here. This has links back. If I click this link here, it would take me back into the EAM system to that specific record, and kind of thing. So that's really powerful. And so you can imagine many uses of this for all different groups in our organization. Now, is there one day, I know the chairman you brought up earlier, is it's more about data transparency, how do we get this stuff? I think a lot of the stuff we're doing does lead to more public facing things in the future. You know, we have better information, we have better visuals. You know, I see the capital program, you know, there's already maps that get created now, they're kind of static, they don't get updated, you know, very often. I think in the future we have dynamic, as we add new projects, take projects away, we have project statuses, there can be live look-ins of things that are available.
So Jeremy,
Yes.
when you have, let's say a broken rail and it's happened like 3 times, does that get noted that in this, you know, 20-foot area, this rail is broken 3 times, or?
Yeah,
I'm just making stories
if
up
we
about
capture that information, of course it does, you know, but, and that's where we want to get
And
towards.
that's where you want somebody to say, hey, this is an issue.
Right, and so with things out of the EAM system, I'll show you a super quick report here that I have just loaded over here. I was talking about our signal emergency response, and so, you know, I just ran a quick report for March. We keep track of failures by equipment type, so it's not exactly your example, but pretend with me. What we're doing now is we have deeper failure data. Historically, we just had text. When we recorded a problem, we would say a problem happened here, this is what we did, this is whatever. Very hard for analysis. Well, now, 3 clicks of a button, I can see, when I look at insulated joints, we had 29 insulated joint, you know, failures that caused impacted service in March. 3 of them we went out, we couldn't find anything. 25 of them, something was shorted. At one time, we had a broken wire that actually did it. From the maintenance people, that's valuable information, because now we can say, like, let's do a targeted campaign around shorts. Which there already is work happening. If you've heard some of the IJ wanting and stuff, it was been in the news previously.
So is this by station, or is this by every inspection that's happening?
Every way you can slice it is
So
what
it's
we're
the
going
big
for.
picture, it's the
Yes.
overview of how you
Yes.
then
So
develop.
this is all
maintenance.
signal trouble calls across the entire network in
It's different
March.
sections.
You know, it's sort of interesting, because one of the problems that we see is in the street elevators, is that in the middle of winter, when they put sand down,
Yes,
of course,
yes,
the doors, so the result of that would be to specify when they shovel the snow
yes.
to clean that sand out.
Yes, and those are things that as we get that failure to learn what it is, now we say, okay, now we need to change our processes based on the data that we have.
Right.
That's exactly it, you hit it on the head. One of the things, let's see if I can find it quickly, but when we went to our switch machines and looking at this, in March we had 40 failures out of 100 that were due to icing. Well, we have procedures that are supposed to be for winterization to prevent this. And so when we see this data, it says, hey, maybe we need to look at those, maybe we look at the accountability, did it actually get done? You know, these are all things that with better data we can do better things, as opposed to, well, I don't know why that happened. I don't know why the elevator isn't working every time that it snows. You know, you hit the nail on the head.
That's the sand gets
Yes.
down.
But without the data, we rely on
Right,
anecdotes,
right.
and you rely on the people who've been here for 25 years to just know what's
Who are
wrong.
gonna retire
Exactly, and they've
someday.
already retired some of them, right? You know, so how do we get better information so that we're all on
make
the
them
same thing?
slaves.
There you go.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll show you, just for the sake of time, is we talked about general orders. We historically, for maintenance planning, when you have general orders, there's a stack. There's emails of PDF attachments that get sent around to the different groups, and they say, if you need to do work, you know, read through this and figure out where you need to do work. What I'm showing you here is actual, and I know it's really hard to see, but there are different colors here showing where the general orders are. And I can zoom all the way down in, it will take a second. It will look weird, it will adjust back in a second, but to truly get down and see, this is a visual representation of the general orders that are happening this week. I apologize, it'll take a second, but bear with me. But
Is
eventually,
it that slow in your office, or is it because you're on a different?
I'm on a beta version. This is not our production server because I didn't want to mess with any of that. But so what you see here is, and it's a little bit clearer now, but you see green on the outside tracks but not on the inside. And so I can actually click on this, it's going to bring up, and I know again, I apologize, it's blurry, it's better on the screen, but I can tell you here's the GO number, so if somebody wants to look up more information, they can go to the GO system. What week is it in? I can tell you the power was off on this GO. There's a work train there that's from 42nd to West 4th Street, and Track Construction Knights is who owns that GO. So for our maintenance planning groups, when they need to piggyback or figure out, they know they go to Track to figure out how to do that.
What time frame?
What do you mean?
What time frame is that GO in?
So this particular one, it says right here, it's
Oh,
from
I see.
Friday at 2200 until Monday at 0500.
What's it, 67th Street, nice.
Oh, you want me to go up?
Yeah, I just came
Sure.
to this, they said no service.
Well, that might have just been enough, but this, is this?
No, I said no.
Is this
service.
live?
Oh, no, that's
So this is, we update this weekly. So every week as they update the GOs, this gets updated.
So it's not real time?
It's not real time. So if there are emergency GOs that happen over, overnight, they wouldn't necessarily show up here.
No, they said there was no train service, in North southbound on 67th.
You mean at night, Bert?
Yeah, there's something.
Yeah, and this might be last week, I apologize,
Oh,
but
that's
the example is that now that we can visualize this, if you remember the defects that I showed you, now we can start saying, hey, it's not just reliant on those individual people in the field to figure out what work aligns with the GOs. Now we can systematically, proactively go to them and say, hey, you have 12 defects where this GO is. While they're out there doing work, go do your work too, so that we can reduce the impact on the customers. I'll get to you in just a second. And so those are some tools that later part of this year and early next year we hope to be rolling out across subways, is to truly give people that proactive stuff. Because ultimately our end goal is let's reduce the burden on the customers and do the most work we can when we have an outage. Yes,
This regards to surrounding buses.
I'm not buses, so I can't do
Well, I'm
it.
just gonna put it out there.
Sure.
Share with your comments. If you close the street that holds a bus, a two-way street that holds a bus, and you reroute it in both directions, but you keep off that street, you need to post signs, because I told this gentleman here years ago, I was stranded on Manhattan Avenue, Huron Street, in bitter cold weather, because nobody bothered to post any signs at that 4 bus staying in the B61 bus, which was coming that round time, was running McGill's Boulevard in both directions. Downtown was closed. Downtown lanes were closed due to construction. Okay, uptown side was fine. Either way, if you don't want to put downtown bus in Manhattan and put on McGill's Boulevard instead, that's fine. But you need to tell me not treat me like a penguin.
Right.
That part of Greenpoint, you can walk from Manhattan Avenue to McGinnis Boulevard, but you gotta have signage.
You gotta know.
You gotta know.
If you don't know,
exactly.
you don't know. Yep.
And especially in bitter cold weather.
Yep.
Jeremy,
I'm
I
gonna
I just have one more
Yeah.
question. How, with like the bringing on of the R211s, are your systems being integrated into the subway cars so that, I mean, do your systems get put into the subway car computers?
So what I would say is the
I don't know if
maintenance.
I'm asking it
Yeah,
right.
no, I think it's good. I think the goal is, and this is what I was saying, we're just getting ready to initiate a project in car equipment. We don't have anything with them right now. But the goal is that all of their maintenance and their inspection is tied in, regardless of whatever car type it is. We want to capture it because we want to analyze it. We want to make better decisions. We want to do things like, we have an SMS
If there's
program.
a part that sucks and.
Right, if the same door opener keeps failing, let's not buy that door opener again, right? Let's find a different manufacturer that can do something differently. It's hard to make that case though if we don't have the information to go back at it, so yes.
So you would keep track of it's an ongoing problem, it's only one door opening,
Yes.
and it's like, run through all the people to get to the next door,
Yeah.
or get stuck.
And the challenge is it that door of the car? Is it the door opener? Is it something else with the mechanism?
The guys have
Yes.
a key that they can go and open it.
There's a
and
manual
open-
override. There's a manual override.
Yeah.
But we have to,
Yes.
we definitely have to
Yeah,
We have to
I know you guys gotta move on, so.
Right.
Yeah, I just had really two questions about the GIS. So, organizationally, is this separate from, is it its own division who manages the GIS operation?
The folks who do this are on my team, within Subways.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the second question is, has you ever thought of inputting demographic data overlaying on top of the planned work that you have?
Yeah, I think there's a whole wealth of opportunities. I think there's things that demographic data, there's accessibility stuff, you know, distances that GIS opens that world to start looking at different data sets collectively and things, you know.
Because with planned outages, there might be a demand response management sort of aspect to it.
Yes.
So as far as maybe you see a neighborhood that the station is located in, you know, maybe these type of areas located, things like that.
Yes, that's definitely the world we want to move towards. I'm only scratching the surface of what I'm showing you, but that's the world we want to be in, is where we have more dynamic stuff that we can do things and say, you know, what congressional district is this affecting?
Yeah.
You know, what capital projects are here and there? You know, there's a wealth of opportunities and we're just getting started.
Yeah,
It's very exciting. We wish you the best of luck,
Thank you.
obviously.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Is that it? Or do you have another?
No, that was all
Okay. No, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really interesting, so it would sound to me this is good news, and that the agency should talk about it more.
I looked up and I
Yes.
see a 6-line
Yes, I think
How
they're-
long has this been in operation, your unit, this?
Our team started in 2016 when we bought the software, but it was pretty small then. We've now grown up a little bit, but we only have, we're around 50 people now.
Were you under the auspices of another unit, or were you
It was
set
a
up
new
to
team
set-
created. It was a
It was
new
a
team
new
created
team?
to do this. Yep.
So, because we do have to move on, if you guys have additional questions, send them to
No, it's okay.
Bradley and I. No, I know, but as things come up, send them to Bradley and I,
Yeah.
and we'll
follow
compile
up
and
with
share them to you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much, really great.
Thank you for the time.
So we do have old business, new business, and another
Bradley
business,
has-
and Bradley business.
Yeah. Bradley, you wanna,
And you guys are welcome to stay for that. If you guys are staying, but only these guys.
Bradley, you wanna bring up your
Yeah,
item one?
so I don't want to basically regurgitate what Andrew said about the L project that we're doing. I mean,
Thank you so much.
in short, we're looking at crowding and pinch points and looking at communications and a whole slew of things that hopefully we can get to. But I kind of want to hear from the council of what main areas of concern that you all have and things that you think that we should be looking at when we start figuring out what we're doing for the scope of this project.
And also just to put on that, I did meet with the chief of staff earlier this week and told her that we want to be supportive and provide feedback that we're getting from the rider perspective, so that, you know, she's gonna see what happens with that, but we did offer.
Lisa, when you say chief of staff, which chief of staff are we talking about?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Helene Fromm, who's the chief of staff
Okay.
of the agency
No,
at this
because when you
time.
say chief of staff, it could be 1,000.
Any office,
Yeah.
right.
Right, well, Helene at this point is still retaining that title
Thank God.
For the MTA.
for the MTA.
Oh, we're talking about MTA.
The whole
I
MTA,
thought you were talking about officials.
Yes,
That's
she's
fine.
the chief of staff at the headquarters here.
yeah.
So that's who I was meeting.
Go ahead, Bradley.
But yeah, does anyone, I mean, I'm sure
I mean,
Edith
I've gone over
there's
some
of
some
this
accessibility
already.
issues.
Yeah, I
I
would
just need
really
to get
like
some
to have a sense whether